believe is right. They're a civilised country.
They're a civilised country, and they're very creative people. I mean, I'm not talking about the gangsters walking around, but you know, their IT industry is very, very bright. It's even now probably world-shaping.
Yeah.
But if it hadn't have been for the Americans in our history, since
we'd be German.
Oh, definitely.
We would be German, and
well, we probably wouldn't be alive actually, because our parents or our grandparents would have been shipped off to some camp somewhere in Europe, you know, to work as slaves doing something.
Yeah, it's the world is in a bad state, and sort of when you sort of look around about all the wars. I mean, I'm 34, and I can remember, even if we start talking about Israel and the West Bank and stuff like that, I remember when I was a kid, and I'm 34, that was always on the 10 o'clock news, the West Bank. The whole of the Middle East is just one big hornet's nest.
If you take an overview of that situation, I'd be interested to hear what you think. If you take an overview of it, there's not one bunch you can turn to and say you are totally wrong or you are totally right. You know, it's been like a family squabble. It's just as easy for it to go wrong as it is for it to go right.
Yeah.
You know those family things at probably Christmas or Easter or something, and you get together, then you just hope that your brother doesn't have 2 glasses of red wine too much and he gets difficult. Or your sister-in-law does whatever, and you think, oh dear, it's good. Give me my tin hat.
Yeah, the big family party, is it going to kick off?
Yeah, and that, I don't mean to cheapen the situation, you know, in the Middle East. Not my intention at all. But I think they're so alike. Sometimes people in a family are too alike. Yeah.
I mean, when you look at that whole Middle East and that, and then you come back to, I mean, I'm not religious at all, but all the wars that are going on in the world at the moment, and there's lots of them. There's lots of them that we never ever really hear of, even in the African countries. And every one of them is a religious war, which is pretty frightening.
It sort of takes away some aspects of the reason for having a religion, doesn't it?
That's why I personally, I choose, at the end of the day, I'll get 2 little kiddies and that, and I'll let them make up their own mind when they're old enough and big enough.
Yeah.
Be whatever you want to be, as long as you're happy.
Well, if you can answer to yourself and say, that's what I believe, I think you probably have a more peaceful life.
Well, I think so, and again, sort of when, as sort of I said there, when you look around about these countries and that, people sort of say the most things in the world that will cause trouble is politics and religion.
Yeah, and they're to be avoided at all costs.
And there you go, mate. That's exactly it. That's my point.
It's good to talk to you, Rob. How far are you driving tonight?
That's me, mate. I'm back at my yard and I'm finished. Good morning. Superb. It's been brilliant talking to you.
Nice to talk to you. Drive safe.
Thanks very much.
Take
Cheers,
care.
Mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My number's 08704 20 20 20. There's a new addiction on the block. Well, I told you about a plan put to the government to reduce blood alcohol level. Have I got that right? Yeah, blood alcohol level. You can tell it's 3:30 in the morning. Blood alcohol level in under 21 youngster drivers. Why allow it at all? Be so open to misinterpretation. If you look at a single measure of white wine, and then you look at 1.5 measures, it doesn't really look too much different, does it? But it can make all the difference if you're driving. So why not ban it? If you're driving, you're not allowed to drink at all. Is that too much to swallow? No pun intended. If you've got a thought on it, 08704 20 20 20. We'll take a short pause. We shall return. Like Dick Turpin with Black Bess.
On 1089 and 1053 AM and DAB digital radio, talk sport.
We've got skrillions of listeners, and some of them have got their radio on too, which is nice. There's a little story, and I'll just give you just a couple of bits because I'd appreciate your thoughts. Apparently youngsters, and what constitutes a youngster? Somebody under 16, I suppose, are in the grip of addiction. Oh yeah? Not another one, I'm afraid so, to mobile phones. They could be addicted to sticking a phone next to their ear and chatting away. Well, I was walking across a part of leafy London, not far from where I live, and there were two guys walking along together, kicking the ball between them, both on the phone, to opposing areas of interest. Very sweet. Let me talk to Mary in Birmingham. Hello, Mary, you're on talkSPORT. Good morning.
Oh, hello. I phoned just to mention the antics of Westminster Council.
Yes?
You said they were paying £100,000 to move out your council property. Well, I was thinking all you'd need would be 50 to 100 people to take this up, and you've got a £10 million bill.
Yes.
Well, do you know what I mean? So yes, where are they getting that funding from to do this kind of nonsense?
Well, if they haven't got enough, they get it from central government.
So central government can pay out this kind of money, do they?
Yep.
You know, like how when you live under the council, you're dependent on elderly care, social services. So these services are not going to be funded.
No, because they are a separate budget, aren't they? We're talking about housing.
Yes, but you know how the councils work. When they fund one thing, they salami slice it away from another.
Yeah, well, it's like saying if the plumber comes round, you know, then it automatically means your front bedroom's painted.
Yeah,
they're different departments.
My worry would be that the council is using the budget for this kind of nonsense, and all the budget in other areas are inevitably going to end up suffering.
I would not think so. The reason they're freeing up, this is their expression, to free up its accommodation. This is why they're offering tenants £100,000 to quit the capital. This means, because there is no more room to build property on. You're calling me from Birmingham. I mean, Birmingham is pretty dense. Parts of Birmingham, it's really heavy. So what they want to do is to get people who are locked into council property for a few years, is get them to move out so that they can then say, OK, we can take some new people. Now, as to why they would want to change people, I'm not sure.
No.
But maybe it's a government strategy that gives them 50% of those £100,000 payouts just to put, I don't know, more Labour-friendly voters into the city of Westminster? I'm not sure.
They've actually done a similar scam here in Birmingham. You might have heard of Bristol Street Motors, which is a big...
Hang on, before you go any further. You're not going to say anything against them?
No, just as a landmark. Just as a landmark, just as a big company.
Okay.
Well, the back of that big company, a big car company, back of that car company, there are council blocks of flats. Well, they bulldozed them and handed the land over to a private developer. Hello?
No, I'm just thinking why they would do that. I'm just thinking why they would do it.
Well, just as a landmark. They bulldozed the blocks of flats, and they gave them over to not just a private developer, but this is a real upmarket one called Chase.
You don't have to mention who they are.
Oh no, but just to say they start their houses at £250,000. So it's not just a private developer; it's an upmarket private developer who are pegging their houses, like someone like Barrett's or something might peg their houses a bit lower. But this upmarket developer pegged their houses at £250,000.
And you wonder why the council sold it?
But all the blocks of flats, about 3 or 4 of them, with all those acres of land, it's been given over to a private developer. It really is scandalous. I personally don't know where all the council tenants have gone.
Well,
the future of council tenants. Pardon?
They've been relocated. And as for the future development of them, we could maybe take a warning from you, Mary, in Birmingham, so that the council tenants that are being offered £100,000 each in Westminster to get out, for each property. Maybe those properties they're asking them to get out of are being bid for by property developers who see them as worth £120,000 each, just to buy the space.
Yes.
Maybe that's what it is. And obviously, in Birmingham, when freed of those council houses, then the local council has more cash to spend on other areas of its budget.
I don't think so, because some of the tower blocks, you're talking 400, flats. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
They've just moved people out, and it creates the remaining council tenants in the low-rise houses will get picked on when the £250,000 houses get built. Because the better off will say, oh, these people are hanging around on street corners, they're walking down in a gang of 3 or 4. Do you see what I mean? It's almost like a stealing, like a social engineering thing.
I think you might have put your finger on the whole thing there, Mary, with that expression, social engineering. It could easily be that, couldn't it?
Yeah. It worries me, because for me, I think, well, how will people live in the future? If you can't move out of your mother's house, if houses in Birmingham are starting at 250,000, in London it's going to be more. How on earth would you ever get on the property ladder, or even move into a council property?
Well, hope and pray that if you're living in council property, that they decide they want to sell it, and if they give you £100,000, it's not too much more difficult to get on the property ladder, is it?
Oh, yeah, you'd have to be a bit entrepreneuring, but I think that for an overall feel of the community, it just seems a bit, it just seems, for that feel of everybody having somewhere to live, seems to be taken away from people. Do you see what I mean?
I do
the
see.
Entrepreneurs will live, people who can find a way of doing things, but just for the boy or the girl who wants to leave home, or the woman who's in a bad marriage and just wants to leave her marriage, or, if somebody wants to move into an area, I just think general living is going to become harder.
Thanks, Barry. General living becoming harder. Is it true to say that general living has become harder in the last, what would you say, 5 years? And then 5 years before that? Did it get that much harder? I'll be interested to hear. Because we all have what we perceive to be 20/20 vision when it comes to hindsight. But maybe we don't have 20/20 vision. Maybe we hear someone say something and think, well, that sounds as if it might be right. And then we pass it on to someone else and say, do you know, living's getting harder? I think I would agree that it is harder, but I don't know, it's harder, what, twice as hard as it was 10 years ago? 08704 20 20 20, or text me on 81089, or email talksport.net. Who's next? It's Mark in Glasgow. Mark, hello.
Hello there.
Hello, Mark.
How you doing?
Well, I'm all right. I'm having a cup of coffee. I'm sitting here thinking, shall I go for a little walk this morning? I'm thinking, yeah, I might do that. What about yourself?
No, I'm just listening. I actually forgot what I was going to talk to you about after listening to that lady there.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about the phones.
Oh, mobile phones, addiction to mobile phones by younger people, yeah.
Well, I'm actually a father. I've got 3 children, and from the ages 18, 14 and 12.
Right. And
the 3 of them, they're mobile phones. But
how do they afford to use them all the time?
Well, they don't. They've got paper runs, and they pay for them themselves. They do really pay for them themselves. So that's not a problem. But I've got a lot of their friends. Their friends, they just have them. Like their parents pay for them.
Yeah, and those bills can be ridiculously high.
Very high, very high. I've had my daughter's phone bill one time.
How much was that?
When she was only 16. Now, I got her she wanted me to get a contract phone. And I says no. I said, I'm not getting a contract phone. I ended up getting a contract phone for my daughter via a major phone company.
Mm-hmm.
And our first bill was £64 for the first month.
£64 a month?
For the first month.
Wow.
And now, I've got a contract phone, and my wife's got a contract phone, and none of the two are anywhere near that phone. Now, I spoke to my daughter about it, and she says, oh, it'll not happen again. And the good thing was that it didn't happen again. But because it was in my name, my daughter was working at the time, and my daughter had to pay it. But she's curbed it now, and she knows where she's playing, she knows what she's doing. But I know of other people, other friends and family, that their son or child, girl, and their bills are running their way up sky high.
Do you think it is an addiction? Do you think they just get in a position where they can't make their mind up about anything on their own? They've got to talk to a friend about it.
No, I don't think. I think it's just a thrill for the young ones.
Just to be seen walking down the street on the phone to somebody.
I think you really need to be able to trust your child. The young ones that have a page of talk, they'll get the money somewhere, and by means somewhere, they get it somewhere. The contract ones, sometimes when it's their parents that's doing it, is actually quite a good thing, because at least the parents, it's the parents that are going to pay for it. Even if it's the children that's paying for it, but it's the parents that's going to bill for it.
Mark, thank you very much. I think words there that most people say, yes, it's the parents that get to pay for it in the final assembly of it all. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to take a pause. Be right back. Talking to John from Redcar and probably Dell from London and maybe you. The number's 08704 20 20 20. According to the Prime Minister, well, don't think we necessarily want to say too much about the Prime Minister, but the situation he finds himself in, that when it comes to Afghanistan, we're 2,500 troops short. We're short of some helicopters and we're short of some equipment. Apparently it was undercosted or politically undercosted at the inception of the action against the Taliban. So if France has decided that they, apart from, agreeing just a few weeks ago that they would help out, and Germany would like to help out, but unfortunately, we're covered in lethargy, and the Italians, they're no good, they're not going to help out. So what's going to happen? Well, the Brits are going to do it, aren't they? It's going to take a few months extra, but we're going to do it. So, the question I put to you, how does that alter our thinking when it comes to the support generated by the European Union? How are we going to look these guys in the face and say, how used for you when we were fighting the war on terror? And they say, well, we didn't want to do it. Oh, yeah, but you said you'd help us. No, we can't do that. We might have to hold our end up on our own territory at home, because we've got Islamic terrorists we know from our intelligence services that want to blow us up. Okay, so it's okay for us to do it, but not them. I'm very disappointed, actually, because I did see the positive side of the European Union, but I'm starting to think that maybe the European Union is all over bar the shouting, because we don't seem to have any connection with reality to what our fellow members seem to want to do, which at the moment is nothing.
Fisherman's Blues with Keith Arthur on talkSPORT.
Started with a fish.
Whatever you're looking for on the radio.
Trout, let it all out.
Make sure it's got soul.
Boom, hey, the boom.
Fisherman's Blues with Keith Arthur.
Rock salmon the Casbah,
The only dedicated fishing show on UK radio. Saturday and Sunday mornings from 6 on 1089 and 10:53 AM. talkSPORT.
Boom, boom, Mr. Salmon.
talkSPORT.
The radio station for men who know how to put a shelf up across the UK on dome-headed, chrome-plated, 1.5" 8 DAB digital radio and box standard unplated 3/4" 6s. 1089 and 10:53 AM. talkSPORT.
Right. John's in Redcar, Dell's in London, Robert's in Plymouth, Renee is in Coventry, and Erica is in Norfolk. Do stay with me. I will get to you all. First off, it's John in Redcar. Hello, John.
Hello, Mike.
Good morning.
You're doing a good job. Good morning. It's just one little comment, a couple of comments on the first one. The lady next one who was commenting on the.
From Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just you haven't got to be a rocket scientist to understand what's going on in this country. Mr. Callahan, Sonny Jim. He once said, if you tighten all the vowels down, you're going to have a very bad time. Because if you've got everything, they'll take some away from you. And not start breeding bad talk amongst people. There's going to be riots and everything, but there will be. I mean, the object really, if you take Europe, and France especially, you've got 4 times your wages and 4 times your pension. And the property is 50% less. So it tells you a story what's happening. You just let the property go. A free-for-all. Some people have made millions, billions out of it. What's going to happen when they've transferred all the housing stock to these other people? I'll not mention the name.
Thank you.
And all that's happening is that they put an old kitchen in for them or something, kidding them on, and then they put the rents up and rents up. So in actual fact, the people who are in council estates will find it very hard in the future. And if they're not building no more, it's just a scandalous.
Well, it's a manifestation of the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots,
right.
And the percentage, of poor is increasing.
Well, I'm not a council person, but I think I'm not no stigma about it. I'm not looking down at my nose, and I think everybody should be housed. Not everybody. I'm not intake in the country. I don't believe they should be housed because they've got to look after their own people first. If they can't look after their own people first, what the hell are they doing bringing people in the thousands?
Well,
he's saying it's got to be you've got to fill the workplace because their own people won't do it or they can't. But that's not the point. The point is.
Oh, I think it is an important point, actually, John. I really do. I mean, if you create an imbalance,
right?
And is there a managed situation when people are admitted into the... You stay where you are, John, okay? I just want you to know that I've got to take a little pause, all right? And then I'm going to come back to you. So this is all on us, isn't it? We're paying for this call. That's okay. All right. This is talkSPORT. I'm Mike Allen. Having such a good groove this morning, having a really nice time. I just want to remind you that the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast with a cast of thousands will be with us as usual from 6 through until 10 and at 10 through until 1 o'clock. John Gaunt.
On 1089 and 10:53 AM. Around the world.
Oui, la trajectoire est normale.
Around the clock. From the Sky News Centre, talkSPORT on the hour news.
The top stories from the Sky News Centre at 4.
On 1089 and 1053 AM. talkSPORT.
Thanks for your emails, thanks for your texts, and thanks for your calls. It's a bit of a rush at the minute, but this is from a guy. I'm just trying to find a name. No, it's unsigned actually, but I think it makes a good point. It said our troops are in fighting on the front line when the likes of Germany, France and Italy have troops there, but with too many clauses to when they fight the Taliban and when they don't. In other words, why don't we have committed engagement? What's the point of having them if we don't use them? I think we'll all go with that one, actually. We'll be talking to Del in a minute, also Rennie and Erica and Martin and the rest of the gang. But we're in conversation with John just before the news, and we're talking about the housing situation, and probably a distorted, not distorted by John, but a distorted situation where councils are moving their interests from providing property for people to live in to asking them to leave, and possibly, we don't know, possibly selling them to the developers for their own advantage. So, John, sorry about that. I had that little pause going on between us, but I didn't want to bounce you off at the end of it because it seems so rude.
Yeah. Well, listen, Mike, you know this, you had a lady in Westminster who did the same thing to get votes.
Shirley Porter.
That's right.
Dame Shirley Porter.
And they're doing the same thing, you see. What they're doing, you see, they're scratching their head and saying, how are we going to get rid of this lot and make a lot of money out of it? And that's the answer. I mean, and getting back to this war business and all this, it's public opinion. You see, it's public opinion like in France again. If you take all the houses from the young people, they won't let you live in them. To say, well, you're not looking after the country. You can't speculate in France. You can buy fields and fields of land. But nobody, in the south of England, they've been all over there, these agents, and they've bought our France up by now.
Yes, they have. You're absolutely right. It's a little bit worrying. I don't know if you heard about this, John, but people who live near the Channel ports are actually living in France and working in the UK, and they're getting the train back and forth twice a day.
That's right, but you see, the thing is, they won't let them speculate. There's a law, they bring these laws out, and these laws are, it's called a wound, the name for it is wounding. What you call it's a wounding. If you sell a property, let's say, you buy a property for £100,000, right?
Yeah.
And you bought it from this guy, and a year later you sell it for $200,000. Now that guy that sold it to you is called wounding. You've got to pay him a percentage. There's these laws, you see, that come in, they're steady, they don't allow them to speculate. And that's why you've got lovely land there that's not been touched. The young people can go in and have a house and do what they like, but they don't allow you to come and buy acres of that beautiful land and then put all these luxury houses up and keep going and going. Before you know, you are in the same position as us, which is rather daft. And in the end, it's going to dip. You've got to believe that. It will dip. It will dip very severely.
What, in this country?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it's too hot.
No wages. I mean, it's different. I mean, they've got 4 times your wages out there in Germany and everywhere. And the pensions. And there's this bird telling everybody you're the 4th richest person or the 3rd in the world. Well, if we are, why don't you give the pensioners a good pension and look after the housing stock for the people and stop the speculation? Because these guys have gone mad. They're buying every inch of land they can find. Brown land, white land, red land. They call this capitalism. It's not. It's destroying the land.
Thanks, John. I'm sure you'd like to add to that. I think John's taken a facet on board there that we'd forgotten about, that Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo, but Napoleonic law still continues